Tizkulu Shanim Rabot Ni'armot V'Tovot. During the Aseret Yeme Teshubah, there are a number of things that we add in the tefillah, one of which is the tefillah of Avinu Malkeinu after the Amidah, both in Shacharit and Mincha. And essentially, Avinu Malkeinu is a laundry list of requests that we have for Borei Olam. Chadesh Alena Shana Tova, give us a good year, Kotverem Sefer Chaim, write us in the book of life, and many other requests that we have from Borei Olam. As an introduction to the tefillah, so to speak, we say, En lanu melech ela ata, we recognize that Borei Olam is the king, which makes sense because before we approach Borei Olam for requests, we recognize him as the provider of all, as the king, and as such, we understand that he can provide for us. Before the introductory statement, we begin Avinu Malkeinu with the phrase, Avinu Malkeinu chatanu lefanecha, God, our Father, we sinned in front of you, which doesn't seem to fit the mold. Why are we talking about sinning in a tefillah that seems to be focusing on recognizing Borei Olam as the king and asking him for requests? And I think understanding that is really understanding what Teshuvah is all about. Borei Olam wants us to get to the point where we understand that before we can mend a relationship, before we can ask for things, we need to understand that we have to own our own blame. There's a fascinating Gemara, Masechet Avodah Zarah Daf Yud Zayin, which talks about a man named Elazar ben Durdaya. And Elazar ben Durdaya was a man who was involved in many sins. And at one point in his life, somebody said something that inspired him, and he ran out to the mountains and he starts to cry out to Borei Olam for forgiveness. And he says, mountains, please pray on my behalf, for I have sinned. And the mountains say, Elazar, you're on your own, we have our own problems. So Elazar cried out to the heavens and the earth, and he said, heaven and earth, please pray on my behalf, for I have sinned. And the heaven and earth said, Elazar ben Durdaya, you're on your own, we have our own problems. So Elazar ben Durdaya turned to the sun and the moon, and he said, sun and moon, please pray on my behalf, for I have sinned. And the sun and the moon said, Elazar ben Durdaya, we have our own problems, you have to pray for yourself. So finally he turned to the constellations, the stars, and he said, stars, please pray on my behalf. And the stars said, Elazar, you're on your own, we have our own problems. So finally Elazar cried a tremendous cry. He bawled up, and he cried so hard that he passed away. And the Gemara says that at that point in time he became Rabbi Elazar ben Durdaya, and he went straight to Gan Eden. The Mefashim explain that story b'derech mashal. When Elazar cried out to the mountains, he was saying to Borei Olam, God, I have sinned, but it's not my fault. The mountains in my life, my parents, they didn't set me up for success. It's my parents' fault. And Borei Olam says, Elazar, don't blame your parents. You have to own your own blame. So he cries out to the heaven and the earth to say, God, it was society, it was the world around me that made me sin. I lived in the wrong place at the wrong time. And God says, Elazar ben Durdaya, you can't blame society. You need to own your own blame. So he cries out to the sun and the moon, the things that shine, and he says, God, it's not my fault. You gave me so much money. What did you expect was going to happen when I had so much money, so much wealth? I sinned. And God says, it's not the wealth. Stop blaming it on everything else. And so he blamed it on the stars, the things that are high up in the heavens. He said, God, it's because you gave me so much power. That's why I sinned. And God says, Elazar, own your own mistakes. At which point, Elazar ben Durdaya got down on his hands and knees, and he cried so hard that he passed away, and in that he owned his own blame, and at that moment he came to be Elazar ben Durdaya, and he went to Gan Eden. How important it is that we have the ability on Yom Kippur and the Aseret Yeme Teshubah to come to grips with our own mistakes, to own them, to ask for forgiveness, and to move forward. And I end with one quote from Rabbi Twersky. Rabbi Abraham Twersky writes, contrary to popular belief, man doesn't need 3 things to live, he needs 4. They are the popular food and water, clothing and shelter. And says Rabbi Twersky, one more thing that man needs to live, and that is somebody else to blame. And that is the human condition. If there's one thing Borei Olam wants from us on Erev Kippur, on the Aseret Yeme Teshubah and Yom Kippur, it's one thing. 7 words. I did something wrong, and I'm sorry. Tizkulu Shanim Rabot Ni'armot V'Tovot, wishing you a year of health, happiness, and success always.